Out of the depths I cry. Lord, hear my voice, let me know that you're listening. If you should mark my crimes, how could I stand? I would fall far away from you. But with you there's forgiveness. With you there is...
What this says, actually, is they could use some help getting all of these to where they have to go. So that's yeah. Could use help loading and transporting. All boxes will be taken to the collection center after the service. Can you help? Question mark. Love, Mrs. C. There. If you'll open your Bibles along with me, I'll look at some other words that are equally loving and important. This is the Gospel according to John chapter 1. As we've noticed all through the Gospel according to Luke, and here again it is in John, that Jesus loved to refer to himself as the Son of Man. No one else seemed to call him that, but that was his choice in terms of referring to himself. He's the son of Adam. He's one of us. We belong to each other. We belong to him. He belongs to us. We're family. And the fact is that being the Adams family, we've got a few quirks and weird things about us, and we naturally tend to divide into tribes and nations and peoples and tongues, which is a good thing in terms of diversity and blessing, but we tend to fight over those sorts of things. It's right there in our DNA, but the fact of the matter is that we were made from one. Adam, man. We were made from one, and our future is oneness. Our future is unity. Our future is community, if you like. But it's the multitude becoming one. And that's the very purpose. And it's not just something that we see right here. Hopefully it's something we'll learn to see everywhere. Just to give you a quick reminder, listen into the words of Jesus. At the end of John's gospel, the culmination of his ministry, he's talking to the Father. Just listen to this. Jesus says in John 17, "Father, my prayer is not for these people alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one, I and them and you and me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. And then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. Father, I want those you've given to me to be with me where I am and to see my glory, the glory that you've given me because you loved me before the creation of the world." Talk about words way over my head to explain, but that certainly is the goal. Jesus is saying, this is what I want. This is what I'm asking for. This is what I came for. And Jesus said the Son of Man came to seek and to save, to find and to fix the lost. But the fact of the matter is that many of us being lost aren't aware that we're lost. In fact, that's a big part of being found is you find out that you're lost. You start to come to your senses. You start to realize that I think I have a home somewhere else and a Father that maybe I've walked away from. And that's the beginning. But for the most part, we're just not aware that we're lost or that we're perishing. Same word. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes on him doesn't have to be lost, doesn't have to perish, but would have everlasting life. So Jesus came to do just that. And we looked at here in John chapter 1, the first 5 that he found. And as we looked at how he found them, I don't know that any of them knew that they were lost. They all knew that there was something that they would like. They had hungers and desires. They were all searching for something. But it wasn't until later that maybe they discovered that something was looking for them. something, someone. The thing that they were trying to discover was in fact someone else on the other side who had discovered them and who wanted to reveal himself to them. So that's what we've been looking at so far. And just to recap, it says in verse 37 that two of the disciples, this is chapter 1, these are two that had listened to John the Baptist. Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. And it says in verse 37 that two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. And Jesus turned and saw them following. He said to them, "What do you want?" They said to him, "Rabbi, teacher, where are you staying? Where do you abide?" And he said, "Come, and you will see." And so these first two, Andrew, probably John the second, he says, "Come, see." And so they abode with him. They abided with him. They spent the day with him. It says then in verse 40, one of these two who had heard John the Baptist speak, followed him. He was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. And he found first his own brother Simon, and he said, "We have found the Messiah," which translated means Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You're Simon, the son of Jonas. You shall be called Cephas," which translated means Peter. So again, these words, he found his brother. We found the Messiah. But no, Jesus was the one who found them. And he says to Peter something that must have meant a whole lot more to Peter than you or I. In fact, I keep referring to him as Peter because that must have been something he wanted to be. I want to be the rock. I want to be Cephas. I want to be that. And Jesus could look at him and say, "I know you, and I know that you will one day be that very thing. You know, you want something to be real in your life. I know how it can be so. You're seeking for something, but I'm seeking for you." It's all part of the process. And the next day he purposed to go forth into Galilee. He found Philip, and Jesus said to him, "Follow me." But as we talked about last week, I think Philip, first of all, wanted to follow. He wanted to go in a direction that Jesus now says, "You can go. Follow me." And Philip found, verse 45, Nathanael. Philip found Nathanael, said to him, we found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nathanael said, "Can any good thing come out of Nazareth?" And Philip said to him, "Come and see." So again, these words that he found his friend. We have found the Messiah. But no, the Son of Man is doing the finding. And one day they'll find that they've been found. God has been working in my life way before I was aware, way before I knew. And Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said to him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there's no Jacob." There's no hypocrisy in you. Nathanael said, "How do you know me?" And Jesus answered and said, "Before Philip called you, when you were sitting under the fig tree, I saw you." And again, that meant a lot to Nathanael. And Nathanael said, "Rabbi, teacher, you're the Son of God, you're the King of Israel." And Jesus answered and said to him, "Because I said that I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe because of that? No, you will see greater things than these. Truly, truly, I say to you, you shall see the heavens open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." And so here is this first finding. The first five found. Jesus is putting together not an army, not a group of political supporters. He's putting together a family. And they don't know that yet. They haven't seen it fully. None of us have seen it fully. But that's the work. That's what he's involved in doing. But for them, these guys are no doubt so excited. You know, sometimes in your life you feel like, wow, I found something. I found what I've always been looking for. I found something that has such deep meaning in my life, and all of the overflowing joy of discovering, all of the excitement of, wow, where is this going to lead? And you look at the words that they used on their road to discovery, and they were saying things like rabbi, which means teacher. You're going to teach me something. You're the Messiah. You're going to save the nation in some way. You're the Son of God. You're the King of Israel. You see, for them, they thought, oh, I'm discovering all of these things about this man. They thought that they were deciphering and decoding and defining him. The fact is, though, no. He is deciphering and decoding and defining them. He doesn't need to be found. He knows who he is. We're the lost ones. Who are you? Really? Don't look at the way you act, because we all got a lot of growing up to do. Who are you? Really? You look at those 7 sayings there in the chapter that we looked at. You look at how Jesus, he talks to them so simply, so sparsely. What do you want? Come. You'll see. I know you. I know who you've been. I know who you'll be. Follow me. I know the best things about you. I know the deepest things about you when you sat there beneath the tree. All of that. And then the last thing he says, the longest of all of the phrases, the one that we're never going to leave, ever. The one that'll be with us today as we move into chapter 2 and all through. It's that last one where he says, you believe because I know the deepest things about you. He says, you're going to see greater things. Verse 51, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see the heavens opened and the messengers of God going up and down on the Son of Man. That's the promise that is still being fulfilled today. The heavens opened. That gulf between something so high and us being bridged. The heavens opened, the gap, the gulf being bridged, and then communication. Angels are messengers or a message. They can be men, they can be spirit beings, but don't complicate it. Just the communication, the messengers are going up and down. We talked about it a bit last week. I always overlap, but still, it helps to get sequence, context, one thing after another, because it's all meant to give an overall message from Genesis to Revelation. One message that we keep missing. You look at that prayer, the one that we just listened into. What does Jesus want? What should we be working on? What does it all come down to? That's the idea. Heavens opened. What happens when heavens are opened? Does gold fall down? Does it rain rubies and diamonds? And when the heavens are open, you see it here, and you'll see it. When the gulf is bridged, when communication starts to really take place, what does that look like? Well, here in chapter 2, we're ready to look at the first of the 7 signs. And it says, on the 3rd day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there, and Jesus also was invited, and his disciples to the wedding. And when the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, what between you and me? What do I have to do with you? My hour has not yet come. And his mother said to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. Now there were 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each. And Jesus said to them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them to the brim. He said, draw some out now, and take it to the head waiter. They took it to him, and when the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and didn't know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water, they knew. The head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, every man serves the good wine first, and when men have drunk, or are drunk freely, then that which is poorer wine is then poured. But you've kept the good wine until the end. Now this, the beginning of his signs, we'll see 7 of them, Jesus did in Cana of Galilee. And he manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brothers and his disciples, and there they stayed for a few days. That's a dozen verses, at least as the way the words have been divided. And we'll take at least 2 weeks going over them. Maybe 3. We'll see, but you know what? We will be living them forever. How many of you have heard that story before? Everybody raise your hand, because so what? You know, I mean, it's like, I read that, but do you get it? Because I still haven't, and I'm still learning, and I want to keep learning, because this is what it's all about. It's about the forming of a family. We may take 2 or 3 weeks to talk about it, but we are going to be living it forever, and we need to start learning how to live it now. It's cool that we're having Thanksgiving this week and family meals and all of that, feasting. It's kind of like part of the calendar for what we're studying. But here's the picture. that's painted even at this time. This great feast, this great celebration. Again, it's about the formation of a family. Verse 12, the last verse is temporary. It says in verse 12, after this, he went down to Capernaum, which is right close by there. All these little towns around the Sea of Galilee are very close. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brothers and his disciples, and there they stayed a few days. That's temporary. He went down for a few days. But it's a picture of what's going to happen when he goes up forever. It's not just his mother and his brothers, who, by the way, weren't believers at that point, but it's his disciples. It's all of them being formed into a new kind of celebration and feast. It's a work that goes on forever and ever. So bear in mind, as we look at this story, that all of you read it at least once, maybe studied it 50 times like I have, or 100 times, but bear in mind as you look at it right now, the point of this is that the heavens are being opened. This is what happens when you get an insight into heaven, or when the things of heaven start to descend. The heavens are being opened, and the Son of Man, not teacher, Messiah, King of Israel, Son of God, all those other things that others like to call him, he likes to, excuse me. And you notice how when I do that, because we're becoming one community, everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to copy me. There. Where was I? I was somewhere in the Bible, studying about the fact that he likes to call himself the Son of Man. He's one of us, which when I get weird, like I just was a couple of minutes ago, makes me say, thank you. It's like my other 3 older brothers. Thank you for still calling me brother. He's the Son of Man. They said, oh, you're the Messiah, you're the teacher, you're the King of Israel, you're the Son of God. I'm the Son of Man. The heavens are opened, and I am bridging. Right from where the Heavenly Father is, where you'll be forever, and where you're at, as hard as it may be right now, I'm bridging it. And the messengers, the messages, don't get stuck on what you think an angel is. An angel, if anything, is a messenger, a message, a servant. The servants are going back and forth. The communication is happening. Okay, so just bear that in mind, and then let's go back and look a little bit more closely at least half the story. Verse 1, it says, on the third day from what? It doesn't matter. It was the third day. Everybody's got an opinion. Who cares? All we know is it was the third day, and when you read John's gospel, it's pretty clear that there's a lot of symbolism. And the third day, if it means anything, I think it's going to bring our attention toward the resurrection and what Jesus came to do. The culmination, on the cross he said it's finished, but the proof and really the bringing together of the family began with the resurrection, Pentecost, and 3,000 coming together and coming into community. One heart, one mind. No one considering anything as belonging to themselves. Everything so freely shared. It didn't last long, but for a while there, community. All of that is the third day. All of that is the work of the resurrection. All of that is the desire of Christ. So it was the third day. It's all symbolic. It says it happened at a wedding in Cana of Galilee. And, all of this, I don't doubt it's literal, but literal can be pretty dull and wooden and boring. The poetry, the picture, the symbolism. Cana of Galilee, it was a small town like all the little towns around. Small towns are wonderful when they're not terrible. I never lived in a small town till now. I live in a small town now. If I had been born in a small town like most people used to be, everybody was born in a little town, and people just wanted to get out of there. I'm so sick of this small town mentality. I never lived in a small town until toward the end of my life, and now I kind of appreciate it because it's a microcosm. It's a small version of the whole world, of the big, but you just get to see it a little bit more because it's your neighbor. And rather than shoot a missile at them, you know that, they live next door. I need to learn to love my neighbor. I need to learn to work with a community where everybody knows everybody and everybody knows everything. And there's a whole dynamic to that. And again, if I were starting my life, I can't wait till I get out of here. I moved someplace. But since in my life, I'm trying to finish well, I want to learn the fact that loving your neighbor isn't just like something that you have to do till you can afford to go into a better neighborhood. Loving your neighbor is the one thing we're here to learn. And all these things happen in small towns and small areas. In this wedding, two people coming together to be joined, to really learn to love your neighbor, to marry your neighbor. This wedding, this formation of a family happens there in this small town. Everyone knows everyone else. Understand that pretty much everyone in town's invited, because it's almost it's almost an insult if you're not invited. It's like, the Valentines you got as a kid, and the teacher always made sure there's 27 kids in the class, there will be 27 Valentines handed out. That's what teachers are there for. Because you don't want to know as a small child that no one likes you. You'll find out later. But you want to at least have the illusion at the beginning that everything's fair and everyone loves each other and all of that I believe God will make. He has made possible. He wants us to be working at it. But here it's a small town deal. And we don't learn this until the end of John's gospel. It was Nathanael's small town. This was Nathanael of Cana in Galilee. Nathanael's the guy that just said a few verses before. Nathanael's the one that was told, hey, you're going to see the heavens opened and a bridge being built and communication taking place between heaven and earth. But you see, Nathanael had a hard time with communication taking place between Nazareth and Cana. They were two small towns close together, no doubt rivals in terms of high school football or anything else that goes on. It's like, it's my little town. No one can insult this town except for me. I do it all the time. But can any good thing come out of Nazareth? And so this is Nathanael's little hometown. He knows everyone there. Everyone knows each other. It's this whole thing taking place. And this is a lesson for Nathanael. Nathanael was just told, you're going to see heaven open. You're going to see the Son of Man bridging the really big gulfs that sometimes are seen right in neighborhoods. But he's going to bridge it, and there's going to be communication. All of that is taking place at Cana of Galilee. That's stuff to think about. I don't say half the things I could say. And maybe I overwhelm you with what I do say. It's like too much. But there's so much to think about if you take the time to think about it. All of these little dynamics that are going on. It says that it was the third day, there was a wedding. It was in Cana of Galilee, and his mother was there. I know you know that. I know this. Of course Mary's there. It doesn't say Mary. It says his mother was there. And in fact, in John's gospel, his mother is seen twice. John gives us a different story, not a contradictory story, but a very different story than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And each of them give us a little different angle on it. But John doesn't give us Mary's story. We don't hear about the angel's visitation and all those things that we celebrate at Christmas. That's Mary's story, that young girl and what she went through. John just tells us about his mother. It's a family thing. We see his mother here, and then we see her one more time again at the very end, like bookends. Here she is at the greatest happy time of any family, a wedding. And the last time we see her, she's at the foot of the cross, where she's seeing everything she's loved and everything that she's held dear just being torn to pieces. And from the cross, Jesus says, woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. He's putting together the family, again, not with one of his physical brothers, but with one of his disciples. And so, what greater contrast between a wedding feast and the cross of Calvary? And I'm going to shut up right then and there. Right? Don't worry, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm not going to talk about that anymore. You think about that. That's a picture. That's his mother. And those are the two pictures that John gives us. And so here she is in this place. And she is described as the mother of Jesus, the mother of his earthly body. She bore him. She gave birth to him. She cared for him. All the things that if you want to think about it, wow, talk about intimacy, talk about connection. But what she is not is the mother of God. She's the mother of Jesus. She's not the mother of God. That's an important point. I was brought up a Roman Catholic. I love Roman Catholics. I have lots of friends, lots of dear people who are Roman Catholics. They are way better than me in a whole lot of ways. And perhaps they see things that I'm still blind to. But, you knew there was a but coming. All that stuff, but they're a bunch of jerks. No, but, when I was a child, I was brought up to some of the most basic prayers. Holy Mary, Mother of God. I was taught that if you wanted to get close to God, get close to Mary, because Mary's easy to get close to. She's a woman. She's tender-hearted. She's all those things that no doubt she was. But really to get close to God, who's often distant and far and maybe even a little bit hard and harsh, the Mother of God. And so that was a very important thing. And you know, if Mary were here to talk with us, one day we'll talk with her in heaven, she'll say, I never asked for that. I never wanted that. It's not good for you. It's not good to put anybody, whether they're a pastor or a preacher or a holy whoever, it's not good to put anybody between you and the God who loves you so very much. Jesus said, I've come that you might see the Father. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. To know the heart of the Father. That's the essential thing. And so for all of the veneration and all of the even worship that has gone toward Mary, it was never meant to be. And really this story should just be the end of all of that stuff, because it is a family story. It's about how the family works, how the family operates. And here the mother of Jesus is present in this place. Now where's Joseph, his earthly father Joseph? And the answer is, I don't know. But clearly he's out of the picture. That's the important part. You know, did he die? Who knows? Whatever. It's important that he be out of the picture. You know, sometimes in life, I don't know if I'm going to live long or short. After getting cancer recently, I began to think, maybe I'm not going to be around that much longer. Maybe. But you know what? I don't want to be in the picture any longer than I'm supposed to, because we're all here for a while. And if we live well and we do what we're supposed to do, whether it be for a year or for 20 years or 50 years, that's wonderful. I just believe Joseph. What I do know about Joseph, he did some great things. What a great guy in so many ways. But he's out of the picture now. And he needs to be out of the picture, because we would lose what we need to gain if we had him. No, the mother of Jesus, that's the one that needs to be here. That's the one who's been lifted up so high in ways that she never intended to be. And so here we are, third day, wedding, Cana of Galilee. The mother of Jesus was there. Verse 2 says, Jesus also was invited and his disciples to the wedding. Shouldn't be a surprise. Wasn't barging in. It wasn't, Jesus inviting his disciples, these 5 guys we just saw. Who invited you? Well, Jesus invited me. Okay, end of argument. If Jesus invites you, I can't kick you out. We try and do it in the church all the time, but if Jesus invited you, I guess we can't kick you out. It's nothing of the sort. It's funny when you get a familiar story like this and you read people's opinions on it. Woo-hoo-hoo. The things that, there are some folks that think that because Jesus brought along his disciples and they were all a bunch of heavy drinkers, that's why the wine ran out. It's right there. You just follow one verse, just connect the dots. The disciples were there, the wine ran out, and I just thought I'd throw that out. There's all kinds of crazy things you could think, but the important thing is to know that these weddings it would be considered an insult if you didn't invite everybody, pretty much. And so these were generous people, and they were following the custom of the time. And so Jesus and his disciples, even though their relationship might have been relatively new in terms of the verses we know, it's like you first find them and next thing you know, you're feasting with them. There they are at that point. But this is not barging in, this is grafting in, because that's the whole idea. These disciples, they call him the rabbi. Oh no, you're my brothers. That's the idea. This is not building a school, teacher and pupils, and teacher and disciples. This is grafting into a family. Jesus has got brothers and sisters. He's got a mother. These disciples are part of that. It's grafting in. It's the forming of a family. That's what a wedding is. For all the things that, oh well. A wedding is reflective of oneness. It's two coming together to be one as the nucleus for the forming of a family, with the thought that there will be 3 and 4 and who knows how many, but it's a picture. And Jesus invited to the wedding. Well, of course, this isn't the first wedding he was invited to. It's not the first wedding he attended. In fact, the first wedding he officiated at, Adam and Eve. Jesus was there. He was the Word. All things were created by him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. And Jesus officiated at the first wedding. But you know, before the first wedding, there had to be an unwedding, an anti-wedding. There had to be a division, a divorce, a separation, a surgery. Something had to take place in order for there to be a wedding, a oneness. You can't have oneness with just one. You just have one. It takes at least 2 to have oneness. We talk about loving God. Talk about loving God is just talk. Could just be totally empty talk, like James says. It has to be tied to love your neighbor, to love one another. Now it's reality. To love one another, you need at least 3 things. You need love, you need one, and you need another. And then you can love one another. That's why I'm here. The point is that God made man, and God loves that man, and that man loves God. But that's not what it's all about. There has to be the one and now another. There has to be the first surgery. There has to be the first divorce and separation, so that in love, these 2 will now want to learn to have oneness. That was the beginning, and it went pretty wrong right from the start, didn't it? But the goal has never changed. And here at the wedding, here at the making of oneness, we see Jesus, and that's the whole point. It says that when the wine gave out, verse 3, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." She's not demanding anything. She just says they have no wine. May well be that, I don't doubt that she's a very caring, very attuned person to notice that. She may have been involved in the preparing of this feast, may have been family, whatever, but she was concerned. It really was a very concerning thing to run out of wine in a situation like that. It really was. And she's accustomed to taking her troubles to him. Yes, we all need to learn to take our troubles to Jesus. She's accustomed to just taking it to him, especially if Joseph had died and Jesus being the oldest son, he would have been the one, because there was no other social programs to take care of widows. Until his younger brothers and sisters could be a part of it, he was the head of the family, if in fact Joseph did die at a relatively young age. And she was accustomed to, you got a problem? Something going on in the middle of the night? Jesus, could you check on that? What is that? She's accustomed to taking her troubles to him, and she just says, they don't have wine. And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what between you and me?" That's literally, what between you and me, what? What's the relationship? My hour has not yet come. Wow. Now, again, something's lost in the translation, cultural difference, no doubt, but I know if I had said to my mom, "Woman, what?" I'd have found out what real fast. I don't think it was like that. I don't think that he was being rude. But I do think that this may have been the first time he talked to her like this. I would think that up till now he'd said mom or mother or whatever the equivalent was. But here, things have changed. He's been baptized by his cousin John the Baptist. He's starting to form this new family, though they don't really know that. They think they're joining an army or they're joining a teaching thing. But he's doing this new work, and things have changed. Now, love doesn't change. Sometimes when things change, we get all upset. Oh, no, everything's changing. No, love doesn't change. Love changes us. But love is always the same. But relationships change. When he was young, he relied on her for everything. He was a baby. He couldn't do anything for himself. He relied on her for just everything. And then as he got older, especially if Joseph did die early, she started to learn to rely on him, her son, her protector in a social sense. But now something's changed. And Jesus can't do it for his mother. He can't do it for mom. He can't do it like he did in the past. It's not that he's not going to do it. It's just he can't do it for her because she's mom. Never again. And so the word's a little different. Mother, what's our relationship now? And that may have been felt, it doesn't say it, but it may have been felt as like, whoa, so that's different. A lot of times when relationships change, we don't look at the fact that love doesn't change and God doesn't change. We just like, I liked the way it was, and then we're all hurt, and then we're all like, oh, you used to, and you. No. It's not sad. When love changes us and relationships mature and grow up, that's not a sad thing. Because just like the wine, at the end, the best is yet to come. Love will make things better, even when things have to change. And he says, my hour hasn't come. His hour, of course, is the time on the cross, the time when his glory will be manifest in the strangest way. That's glory? To die like that? But that's the one time when he submitted himself just to the will of man, to what people wanted. Now, not as opposed to, because he prayed, and Father, if it's not thy will, I don't want to do it. It was the will of the Father, but for a very different reason. It was the will of man to just get him out of the way, to crucify him, away with him, whether the leaders or the people who even cried all of that. An hour would come when he would do something just because some authority figure said do it, but that hour hasn't come yet. So he's not going to do it because mom asked him. He's not going to do it because his mother said, and he's supposed to submit to his mother because that's the way family works. Things are working in a different way. And so it's indicated, and then his mother, however much she got it, I don't know, but she said something very wise. The mother said to the servants, who become the angels, they become the ministering spirits. She says to them, whatever he says to you, do it. Those are wise words. They're the only words we have of Mary. 2 pictures in John's gospel, one at this joyous feast, then at that terrible cross. And the only words she says is, whatever he says to you, do it. Wow. If you want to honor Mary, if you want to say, Mary, I love you, then do what Mary says. Whatever Jesus says, do it. Because he's the one who's the Son of Man who came to seek and to save lost people like you and I. And though relationships have now changed, and I don't doubt that she sensed it the way he talked to her, something's changed. She knew him. After all these years, I know him. I know him. I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but I know it's going to be good. And because she knows him, she can just say, do whatever he says. Wouldn't it be great if we had the levers and buttons and capacity to make our dreams come true? Not. Aladdin's lamp or whatever, name it and claim it or whatever. Oh man, what a mess we would make. Far better to know God than to control him or direct him. Maybe as mom, when he was 2 or 3, she could tell him, you need to do this and you need to do that because that's part of the order. But far better to know him than to direct him. Because if you know him, you know that whatever he directs you to do, whatever he directs anyone to do, it'll be for the best. And then, of course, you know the story. I'm already running out of time. But you know the story. He goes on to do exceeding abundantly beyond all that she could ask or think. I don't think she in a million years would have ever thought he was going to do what he did, but so wise to say, just whatever he says, do it. And Jesus did what he did so abundantly, not because he followed the orders of his mother, but because he listened to the voice of his Father. Not in a panic, like, oh, what am I going to do? He just says, from here on out, the family order is, as was always the case, I do the things that please the Father. That's the new family dynamic. All through John's gospel, we'll see it. Jesus says in chapter 5 over and over, I say to you, the Son of Man can do nothing of himself but that which he sees the Father do. Whatever the Father does, the Son does in like manner. I can of myself do nothing. I don't seek my own will, but the will of the Father who sent me. I do nothing of myself, but as my Father taught me, I speak those things. I always do those things that please the Father. We'll see those words over and over and over. That's what he's doing. And as kind and thoughtful as Mary might have been, what you see here, exceeding abundant beyond all you could ask or think, that's your Father. That's the Heavenly Father. That's him. That's the wonderful thing. Why not get close to him? He's got the tap on the wine. All the best things of life, the joy, the abundance, it's from the Father. It's from the Father. When I was a kid, I never wanted to be a mama's boy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was a mama's boy. I was the baby of the family. I just didn't want to be known as a mama's boy. You know, my older brothers, don't be a mama's boy. My friends, don't be a mama's boy. Don't want to be a mama's boy. And when I got married, someone gave us picnic supplies with little aprons and plates and cups, and all of them said, I'm the boss, I'm the boss, I'm the boss. And I just wanted to throw those things away. Who started this? It's not about I'm the boss. It's not about, and all that kind of stuff, because I just didn't want to be henpecked. I didn't want my wife telling me what to do. I don't want to be mama's boy. I don't want some woman telling me what to do. But you know what? Slowly, hopefully, I'm learning the language of love. And the language of love is not about I'm the boss. It's not about submit. It's not about authority. That's the language of the military. And maybe even the language of the classroom. But when it comes to love, when it comes to family, love listens. Because love loves. And what you have to say is important, not because you're my boss, but because you're my friend. It matters. So he heard his mother. He just asked his father. And the father said, yeah. And it was way more than his mother could have dreamt of. And his mother's asking, it did matter. It mattered. Because his mother matters to the Father. But that's the exciting thing. The Father cares about Mary. The Father cares about everybody in the family. I'll tell you a little secret. Don't try to take advantage of it because it won't work. But if you want me to do something, ask my wife to ask me to do it. And I'll do it. Almost always I'll do it. Not because she won and she's the boss and all those things that I want to be something. As I've finally grown to hopefully be something, I've learned that love makes you something. And my wife, I'll do it not because she's my wife or my boss. I'll do it because she's my friend. And because she's my friend, she's not going to be asking me to do a bunch of stuff for any other reason than she loves me. And because of that, there's a trust relationship that's grown. And so, yeah, there are things. I mean, it just happened with me yesterday. You know, she's got a knitting group, and somebody is sick and wants a physical therapist. In the community I live in, everybody is sick and wants a physical therapist. And I would be going around for free helping everyone. And I'd like to help people. Just helping my neighbors keeps me busy. But you know, if I'm going out helping everyone else with legitimate things, I have no time to be with my wife. I have no time to be with my grandkids. I have no time for other people. There are some people in my life, and my wife is most important of all. So if she says, I could do without you for a little bit, hey, okay. If that's fine. And it's always sparingly, and it's always in love, but love listens, and that's the important thing. Love listens, love cares. If you start to get this out of the story, you start to get the idea. Finally, and we'll look at it more, but finally it says in verse 11, this is the beginning of his signs that Jesus did in Cana of Galilee and manifested his glory. He manifested his glory. Remember in chapter 1, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of an only begotten with his Father. Not the glory of a mama's boy with his mother. Not the glory of how one person can boss another. The glory of an only begotten with his Father. That's what you're seeing. Heaven's opened. This is the heart of your Father. And it says his disciples believed in him. So much different. Not they believed he's the Son of God, believe he's a Messiah, believe he's a great teacher, believe he's the King of Israel. You didn't care about all the titles you put on him. Do you believe in him? I believe in Jesus because he's patient and kind and loving and caring. And who needs a title? Oh, he's the greatest in the kingdom. But I just love the fact that he's the servant of all. Everybody comes out ahead. Everybody does. Whatever he says, do it. And he's saying to me right now, quit talking. Let's sing a song. I got to let the teachers go.
Out of the depths I cry. Lord, hear my voice. Let me know that you're listening. If you should mark my crimes, how could I stand? I would fall far away from you. But with you there's forgiveness. With you there is loving kindness, abundant redemption for my soul, for my soul. My soul waits for thee, more than the watchman who waits for the break of the dawn. All the night long I hope in your word. But with you there's forgiveness. With you there is loving kindness, abundant redemption for my soul, for my soul. My soul waits for thee, more than the watchman who waits for the break of the dawn. All the night long I hope in your word. Out of the depths I cry, Lord, hear my voice. Let me know that you're listening. If you should mark my crimes, how could I stand? I would fall far away from you. But with you there's forgiveness. With you there is loving kindness, abundant redemption